Alright, how you guys doing? Francisco here again. Continuing the lesson that we left off. Pretty busy, so I couldn't do it all, but I'm gonna get it out to you. So here we go. I'm gonna start off on the video. And the video we're gonna start off on is Africans versus African American nonsense. We're just gonna go to just for a couple seconds and just cue in one line, one little area of the video. So, and then we'll move on. All right. Let's go.
Sure, now, and I could be a little sensitive because of how I grew up.
Okay, hold up. Here's the
Okay.
This is an answer to that
Okay.
question. So, the history of African Americans in America does not necessarily work in their favor based on everything that was logged. As you see all the movies, 12 Years a Slave, it's a constant reminder that, hey, African Americans, this is your story. And
You hear that? He never said all the books out there stating that they're not African. He said all the movies. All the movies show how all the evidence. Chaldean.
America. When I was in Nigeria, I did not know of the African American story until I got to America and found out.
That's true.
Right? I did not hate African Americans. This is your story in America. When I was in Nigeria, I did not know of the African American story until I got to America and found out. Until I got to America and found out. Until I got to America and found out. Until I got to America and found out.
That's true.
Right? I did not know anything about slavery. All I.
They heard him from America or Bob Marley. Alright, so let's move on.
When I was reading to prepare for this interview, I was quite surprised to see you use the word aborigines talking about African Americans.
You know, I've dealt with that issue. I've already, talked publicly about that.
And my purpose here today is to say that I'm very sorry, and I apologize to anyone whose feelings were hurt by my comment.
I've made very, very clear I don't know where that comment comes from.
Well, from your subconscious.
Well, I guess. I mean, it's not even a normal thing anyone would say, even if you meant something in a negative fashion. I don't know if you would pull that out. But for me personally, you can't just close down camp and stop trying to do the things that you think are right. Just because somebody, you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition, you still got to continue to fight on and do what's best for the state in the long run. And
But
frankly, it's going to give me the opportunity to talk about things that I may never been able to talk about before.
You mean the bill?
Well,
Alright, so he was caught in some kind of bad arrangement, so he had to work for the government to take down his fellow conspirators. So during this whole thing, he was talking, and this thing was being recorded, and him saying that the blacks aboriginals came up because in their Freemason little sect, they all know that we are the aboriginals. So this thing got caught up in the recording and went into the grand jury and was public domain. So now this thing is big. And so this is him trying to clean up. I'm sorry, I'm a Freemason and I let go of the secret knowledge. That's what that was.
I've dealt with that issue.
Aborigine. I was quite surprised to see you use the word aborigines talking about African Americans.
You know, I've dealt with that issue. I've already, talked about.
Oh yeah,
You're a Negro.
No,
I am your teacher. You are a Negro.
no,
Suppose I threatened to beat you, what would you say? Aren't you a Negro now?
no,
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. This dollar. And if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yes.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yes.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro. Aren't you an American Negro?
To walk into any mosque in America and you just laid your hands on the first person or the third person or the fifth person that you see, you realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American. You realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American. You realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American. You realize that you're laying your hands on a Native American.
100 years later, the Negro is still languishing in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. Now, have you ever wondered what that passage meant from Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech?
It's not a secret. However, with programming such as Roots, 12 Years a Slave,
you call an Afro a natural. Natural means to be naturally from America, not nationally from America. Naturally from America is to say that you are indigenous of America. Then you start to see it pop up all over the place now. The Afro-American is the first one to use the terminology of Afro. Alright? Then Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Mexican. These are indigenous people who had bushy hair.
The Atlantic is very fucking stormy. Very stormy. Even the U.S. Navy, with their modern steel ships and giant aircraft carriers, avoid going directly across the Atlantic in most cases because of how bad the fucking storms are. Think about it. Nor'easters go over the Atlantic. Hurricanes are born in the Atlantic. So, with that said, how are you bringing out these overloaded ass ships with 300 people, allegedly, with supplies for the crew, and maybe a few weapons and everything, and the crew? How do you bring out this overloaded ass ship that might capsize at any second and then take it across the stormy ass ocean? It's a reason why they call the fucking Pacific Ocean the Pacific Ocean. Pacific in Spanish means peaceful because it's peaceful in comparison with the motherfucking stormy Atlantic. So how do you do this? How do you navigate such dangerous waters with an overweighted ship? Because if you got 300 human beings on the ship, it's overweighted.
This is one of my many unsuccessful experiments. You see, with Indians, there's absolutely nothing to be done. There's the same difference between a Negro and an Indian as there is between a dog and a coyote. You can put a dog on a leash, beat him, and he'll always be there to lick your feet. My many unsuccessful experiments. You see, with Indians, there's absolutely nothing to be done. There's the same difference between a Negro and an Indian as there is between a dog and a coyote. You can put a dog on a leash, beat him, and he'll always be there to lick your feet. Take away a coyote's liberty and you've cut off his head. An Indian will never be a slave. No one has ever been able to make them reproduce in captivity. They do not eat, they do not talk, they do not sleep, they do not make love. An Indian will never be a slave. No one has ever been able to make them reproduce in captivity. They do not eat, they do not talk, they do not sleep, they do not make love. An Indian will never be a slave. No one has ever been able to make them reproduce in captivity. They do not eat, they do not talk, they do not sleep, they do not make love.
they all either looked, and I call them the Native Americans because who the fuck paid to make that movie? Just think about it. You cannot.
History told in Africa as slavery and the people getting stolen and or sold off or whatever and sent away to America? And they said no. I'm like, okay, well, how did you learn about slavery? They said in school. Yeah, in school taught by Westerners. So, with that alone being said, I'm expected to believe that this whole slavery thing happened, the transportation aspect of it, when no one that I met from Africa confirmed that.
What I wanted to come to you all about tonight was the Roots series being
race, background, and culture. I am genuinely sorry.
Not we, because I didn't participate in that, but the fact that the people that this was given to.
They are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopians, with thick black hair, not very long, tied back behind the head like a small tail. See that?
American. You are the Indigenous American. I will say again, you are the real deal. You did not come from Africa. They don't accept you. Hawaiians did not come from Africa. Hindus, dark-skinned Hindus did not come from Africa. It is a European lie they used on every fucking continent and every land that they conquered. Restitution is what you should be asking for, indigenous people. Restitution from Europeans and restitution from the Chinese and the Asian nations that also have came to our land and have occupied our land and have benefited off our land and have actually stolen our identity.
100 years later, the Negro is still languishing in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. Now, have you ever wondered what that passage meant from Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech? I did, and what I found was one of the biggest secrets that's not really a secret at all, except to many African Americans, is they are not descended from Africans. I know, I was shocked too, so much so that I asked Africans, and they agreed African Americans weren't Africans. If you don't believe me, Google Arnaldus Montanus America and see the people he saw in 1671. Read books like The Black American Handbook for Survival through the 21st Century by Radine Amin-Ra, What Every African American Should Know by Carrie Davis, and Africans and Native Americans by Jack Forbes. I just can't believe schools aren't teaching this stuff. What a travesty.
Notice how the mentality of a New York nigga is? The average New York nigga, the average New Jersey nigga, always and always have had Moorish mentality, which is cutthroat. They will cut your throats and not give a damn about you. These people are the same people that long ago came from Africa, not just from Morocco. They came to our continent. We gave them land.
Alright, so before I go into round 2, or round fucking 6, whatever we at now, wasn't that crazy? I mean, there's so much evidence. It's stacked on evidence on evidence. You feel it in your heart. Instead, you're at the park, or I'll be at the beach and the trash be flowing in the water. It just kills me. I look around and I see how we just destroyed the land and how we're not really farming and how a lot of us is incapable of doing anything. It's so sad. But just want to let you guys know that we all can still find out the truth. The truth is out there. I know I always hit myself like, oh, who am I? What am I? What was the past? And I would go to class and I'll be learning, and I don't know, it just didn't stick. It didn't feel right, and I didn't really care for it, but I loved it. It didn't make sense to me, and now I understand. And I was wondering, like, why my teacher, Mr. Hendricks, in history class, would just always be on me, even though I was kind of like a mess up. At least it was seen to a lot of people that he always was there and was trying to. He gave me all the books, the philosophers' books, and he would make me sing all these different books to help me. And I really was into the books, but I never finished the books. I never really put too much into it. And now when I investigate these books that he was giving to me, the people tie back to us or to people of our bloodline, and it's just so amazing. Like, I can't believe, like, we would sit there and watch Spartacus, Gladiator, all these phenomenal stories throughout time. Like, feel so separated because it's the European history, but this is your history, and you have to think outside the box and try to seek out some of this information. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna be 10 times the man you are, and feel 20 times better, and be able to direct your family and your own thoughts. Also reflect. This is an amazing roller coaster ride, and everybody should get on this ride. Read, go on, make your own channel. Start talking about all of this. Send me links. If you have links, some key information, send them to me. Appreciate it. Alright, we're gonna get into the next video, but I didn't want it to stop mid-video, and I'll be like, alright. So we come back, we're in the video 6, 7, part 7 coming up.